Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Zack Snyder's Justice League came out on HBO Max today, and it's incredible. Hello guys, my name is Arjun, and I'm a huge fan of Zack Snyder. I really like 300, Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic book movies, and Batman vs. Superman, I have my problems with it, but I still really enjoy it. So I was really looking forward to Zack Snyder's Justice League because I did not like the Justice League from 2017 at all. It's probably my least favorite DCEU movie. So I was hoping we could get a proper version of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we got that today, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So some people don't really know the backstory behind this project. Some people are like, why are they releasing the same movie 2 times? So let's get into that first. So basically what happened during this movie was Zack Snyder was working on Justice League. I believe it was in 2016 or 2017, somewhere around that time. Zack Snyder's daughter passed away, which is why he left the project. So he told the studio to get someone else to finish the movie because he filmed most of it. And then Warner Brothers decided to bring in Joss Whedon, the director of The Avengers. So if you're familiar with both of these directors, they do not make compatible movies at all. Zack Snyder makes really dark movies, Joss Whedon makes pretty, for the most part, lighthearted movies. So instead of letting Joss Whedon finish the movie, they decided to trim the movie down because Zack Snyder's version was 4 hours long and they decided to make it 2 hours. So after they did that, the movie ended up becoming a dumpster fire. So yeah, I really did not like the movie. I'm pretty sure most people didn't either. The critics gave it bad reviews. So for the most part, it was not well received. Because of that, fans of Zack Snyder and the DCU went crazy, and on the internet, everyone started to the hashtag release the Snyder Cut, and that kind of got popular over time. I was one of the people. I really wanted the Snyder Cut version of Justice League because I wanted a good Justice League movie. And after 5 years, we finally have the movie that we wanted. So what did I think of it? Let's get into my review. So just for some general stuff, the movie is 4 hours long, so that's a very long movie. And the aspect ratio, it's like a box, it's like squares, it's like a square. So some people might have a problem with that. I really didn't for the most part. So yeah, let's start talking about the good. This movie has a lot of good in it. So in and of itself, it's a really good continuation of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. On the other hand, the 2017 Justice League had more jokes, it was much more lighthearted, it was barely dark. And Zack Snyder's version, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, they're both really dark and gritty movies. So the Justice League from 2017, it did not feel like a proper continuation. But Zack Snyder's Justice League that came out today was a really good continuation off of those. In fact, Zack Snyder's Justice League picks up exactly where Batman vs. Superman left off. So that's just kind of like a cherry on top for the continuation. So one of the things I really liked about this movie is that there's always a running tension throughout it. There's always this sense that something bad's about to happen. And it just has that sense of doom throughout it, something bad's about to happen. Because of that, you're always on the edge of your seat to know what's coming. And I really enjoyed that about the film. One of my biggest criticisms of 2017's theatrical Justice League is that Steppenwolf was a really bad villain. I didn't like Steppenwolf, not even a little. And in this context, Steppenwolf is a much better villain. Visually, he looks much cooler, he looks much more intimidating, but he also has a backstory. He's not just a generic bad guy. We know why he's doing what he's doing because he serves Darkseid, and he wants to earn Darkseid's trust back. So that back and forth really puts him at the forefront as a really good villain. Speaking of Darkseid, there is Darkseid in this movie, and he's a very cool looking villain. We don't get too much from him, but what we do get, we know that he's an intimidating villain. We know he's strong. We know he's powerful. So we really see the kind of villain Darkseid could be, and it's kind of setting up for future films. I also really enjoyed the characters in this movie. I really had a problem with basically every character other than Wonder Woman in 2017's Justice League. This movie really made me like every single character, especially Flash and Cyborg. Like, I did not care about Flash and Cyborg at all in the first 2017 Justice League movie. But here we just have them and they're well developed. They basically get like 20 to 30 minutes of the movie just developing their characters, showing us their backstory. And I really like what they did there. Their relationships with other people, and how Barry's dad is in prison, and how Victor, or Cyborg, doesn't have a very good relationship with his father. So it does a good job of setting all the pieces up for it to pay off later on in the movie. I also really like Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman, even Aquaman. They all really had something to do in the movie. Everyone was important. And I really didn't like what they did with Batman in the theatrical version of Justice League, because they just made him this old guy that really couldn't do anything. But here, he was able to fight. He was able to do important stuff, and I really liked that. And in this movie, everything matters. So in the Justice League from 2017, we had a lot of things going on, but a lot of things didn't matter. And here, every second, every piece of dialogue, it has meaning. Everything matters, and we have people dying, we have people sacrificing their lives. There are stakes, and it really does a good job of showing that. Now, Joss Whedon's Justice League from 2017, that movie had a lot of humor. And this one had some humorous moments here and there, but for the most part, it was a very serious movie. But when it was trying to be funny, it was funny. This movie is also very emotional. It's emotionally has some very good gut punches, and like there's sacrifices, there's people working together, overcoming challenges. So I really enjoyed that about it. And this was the only DC movie, not just DCEU, just DC in general. This was the only DC movie to ever get me teared up. It just really got me fanboying out on all of these characters coming together, and it just did a great job of presenting everything. So before I talk about some spoilers, I just want to make this clear. Everything in this movie is better than everything in the theatrical version. There's nothing that I think the theatrical version did better than the Snyder Cut. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about some spoilery stuff. So I'm going to put time codes down in the description so you can just skip the spoiler part and go directly into my negatives of the film. So that said, let's get into this. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about here is the Battle of the Mascara. So there's this battle also in the original version of the film, and I didn't really like it all that much. It was fine. It was probably one of the better moments in the movie, but overall it wasn't the greatest battle of all time or anything. It was just there. And also over there we had Steppenwolf just basically beating everyone up. So because of that, we really don't have any sense of doom, because the doom already happened. And we don't have as much tension in that sequence. And in this sequence, in the Snyder Cut, we have doom. Because, why? Because we have all of these moments where our heroes, our Amazons, they're winning against Steppenwolf and his creature things. I forgot they're called. Parademons. There we go. Yeah, they're called parademons. So they're fighting parademons and they're winning, But for the most part, they're not defeating them. They're just slowing them down. So because of that, we know that they're getting away, but at some point, we also know that Steppenwolf and the Parademons are going to catch up. So there's some really good. The way it was directed was really, really good. And even the action choreography was very well done. And this is where I was like, okay, Steppenwolf is going to be a good villain, because here he had more of a personality. He had more of a threatening personality than in the original version of the movie. So I really, really enjoyed the Battle of the Mascara in this version. Another thing I want to talk about, I just want to compare the Flash and Cyborg in the theatrical version and the Snyder cut. So in the theatrical version, those two characters, they're there, but really they don't feel all that important. I really feel like most characters did not feel all that important in theatrical version of this movie. So Zack Snyder has always been this director that tries to make characters important. And because we don't have that in the theatrical version, here we have it because Zack Snyder did basically everything in this movie. The theatrical version, we have Flash, and the most important thing he does is push a car with a few people in it. And then he just looks up and he sees Superman carrying an entire building full of people in it. So they were just using the Flash for jokes and a punchline when they could have done something very cool with him. And in the Snyder cut, they probably do the coolest Flash moment I've ever seen. From the TV show, from the movies, from some of the animated shows that I've seen. They did a really, really cool moment. So as we go into that final battle where Barry, the Flash, gets shot, the Mother Boxes, they unite and something happens. Like basically the whole world is getting destroyed, and we see the Flash do something really important. We see him reverse time. We see him break his one rule to run faster than light speed to go back in time. And it's just done in a very cool way. It's visually appealing, and you see what's happening. It's shot in a way where you can see what's happening, and every step he takes forward, we're going back in time. And we see everyone that blew up, Superman, Wonder Woman, they're just coming back and just into normal people because they got shredded, they died. And then now they're coming back to life. It's just such a cool sequence. And I just can't believe they switched out this sequence for a scene with the Flash pushing a car. Like, seriously, why? And Cyborg is a character that I wasn't 100% sure how they were going to bring him to the movie. And again, in Justice League, I don't think they did a good job of making him important. We knew he had a backstory, but they didn't explore it, so to me, he didn't feel all that important. The most important thing about that in the final battle of the theatrical version of Justice League was that they had to separate the Mother Boxes, and Cyborg was the one doing it. So if I feel like he should have had more important stuff than he did, but he didn't. And in this version of the film, we have him pull the Mother Boxes apart, and he succeeds at it. He does it in a very cool way. We also see those witches show up, and it's kind of a fun little sequence, and it works because they did a setup for his backstory. And not just that sequence. Like I said, he had 20 to 30 minutes of the film just for his backstory, and they did a good job fleshing out this character. Because the movie's 4 hours long, it did a good job of fleshing everything out, and it did a good job with Cyborg as well. It set up his relationship with his father. So as we go into that Star Lab sequence where the father's trying to tell everyone that it's a false alarm, and right after he sees his son, there's an immediate understanding between them. So he tells them, no, it is not a false alarm, because he wants to help his son. And when he sacrifices himself, when his dad sacrifices himself, it's a very sad scene, and it just works so well. It's just on another level how well they did that sequence. So yeah, I really, really loved what they did with Cyborg in this movie. I also really enjoyed the final battle in this movie. I really liked seeing Superman in his black suit. That was just very cool. Him beating up Steppenwolf, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, helping him. And just the way Steppenwolf was killed was really cool. So Wonder Woman and Aquaman are fighting him, and then Superman shows up, just starts beating him up, and then Aquaman stabs him from the back, and Wonder Woman chops his head off. It's just such a cool scene, and it works very well. Especially because we've been seeing him as this character that's very hard to kill, and when Superman shows up and they're working together as a team, it works really well. My big issue with the final battle in the theatrical Justice League is that Superman shows up and just defeats Steppenwolf basically by himself. The rest of the characters really don't do much. And here we have everyone working together, everyone doing something important, and it works because everyone is involved. The next thing I want to talk about in the spoiler section is Batman's nightmare. So we had Batman's nightmare being set up in Batman vs. Superman, where he sees that Superman is a bad person in his nightmare and he's killing people. He's probably working for Darkseid. So we see that in that movie, and here there's basic kind of a continuation, I guess. So here we have Deathstroke, Mara, Flash, and Cyborg, and Batman and Joker. So we have all of those characters working together. And we have Joker say all these lines that make so much sense in this context of the nightmare. And there's some lines with double meaning. So we're interpreting something. It's obviously a setup for the next Justice League movies, if they ever come out. So I really liked what they did with that. I really hope it goes somewhere. I hope it just doesn't end there. I hope Zack Snyder gets to do his next movies. But anyway, now let's move on. And the final thing I want to talk about is Martian Manhunter. He kind of gets two cameos. The first one is when he talks to Lois as Superman's mom. And then the second one is when he talks to Bruce Wayne, Batman, about the Justice League. I thought that was a nice little cherry on top for the film because I've kind of been a fan of Martian Manhunter. I really enjoy him. I feel like he has a cool presence, so I enjoyed seeing that in the movie. Alright, now with that done, let's go into my negatives of the film. And here really I wasn't 100% sure what to place because I didn't have too many negatives. But one that instantly came to mind was that there's a lot of slow moments in the movie. There's some moments where the characters are just talking, and then there's a lot of slow motion shots. I was fine with the slow motion because Zack Snyder is really good at his slow motion shots, so for me it really works. But really, it's the moments where characters are just talking and it's developing character, it moves very slow. I had an issue with that while it was happening, but as we go into the end of the movie, everything pays off. We have sequences where characters are talking, and when we go into the end of it, it pays off really, really well. So even though they're slow when they're happening, it pays off. So I really didn't have too many issues with that. Just while watching it, it moved kind of slow. So that's literally the only issue I had with the pacing. And there's some bad CGI. So I understand why there's bad CGI. Obviously, there were a lot of reshoots and a lot of color correction, and they had to do a lot of CGI because in the 2017 version, they really messed everything up. So they had to fix all of that here. So I understand why there's bad CGI, but I feel like it's still bad CGI. For the most part, I can forgive it because the movie's still really good, but I had to mention it in the negative, so. With that, let's go into my closing thoughts of the movie, and I really like the fact this movie even exists. So I didn't think we'd get this movie until like 10 or 15 years from now, because normally we don't get another version of the movie right after. I mean, it's not right after, it's been like 4 or 5 years, but still, it's pretty hard to get a movie, a different version of a movie released like this fast. But this is obviously because of the fans. The fans really wanted Zack Snyder's vision of Justice League. And thanks to the fans, we have it now. And I just want to thank everyone part of the Snyder Cut movement for helping us get this amazing movie. And Zack Snyder, thank you so much for making this movie. Be sure to tell me down below in the comments what are your thoughts on this movie. And time for my final score. So if you don't know how I score movies, basically I give them 2 scores. The first one is a letter grading, and then the second one is a number rating. So the first one, the letter rating, is basically how well made the movie is. Objectively, from a filmmaking standpoint, how good is the movie? And then the number rating is how entertaining the movie is. Is the movie just well made and it's boring? Or is it well made and it's entertaining also? So that's really what I'm looking for in my when I give my final scores. So for my final score for this film, from a filmmaking standpoint, I'm going to give it a solid A-. An entertainment standpoint, I'm going to go 9 out of 10. So this is a very well-made film, very entertaining movie. This might actually increase the grade because I've only seen the movie once. I thought of giving it an A, but I have to see the movie one more time just to process it a little bit more. But for the most part, it's still a great movie. And thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tell me down below in the comments what you thought of this movie. Are you excited to see it? Have you already seen it? And be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And subscribe to my channel if you want more content like this. And I'll see you next time. Bye.